Good morning and welcome to our webinar, Transforming Your District by Eliminating Paper and Automating Processes. My name is Jack Arnston and I'll be your host this morning and guide our group of presentators through the webinar. And so I'd like to begin by introducing today's presenters. First off is Scott Francis. He's the Technology Evangelist for Fujitsu Computer Products of America. He'll be followed by Mitch McCarthy, our Product Account Manager from Upland FileBound. And from Oconomowoc Area School District, we're very pleased to have Kristen Woodard, who's the Accounting Analyst and Accounts Payable Specialist, along with Connie Hoppy, who's their Human Resources Specialist. Our agenda this morning will begin with scanning within your district offices. Scott will take us through some use case examples of how districts are using scanners to not only eliminate paper, but to become more efficient and safer. Next, Mitch will share an example of how FileBound, our document management system, can integrate directly into your school management software. And this morning, Mitch will be sharing how Skyward software is integrated. Kristen is going to share how Oconomowoc is using FileBound within the business services area, and Connie will do the same for human resources. We plan some time at the end of the webinar to answer any questions that you may have. And so to participate and ask questions, you'll have two options. The first is to write your question to the GoToWebinar chat box, which I've circled here on the screen. The second is to ask your question directly to the group, and you'll be able to do that by activating the small hand that you see in the GoToWebinar dialog box. On the screen, you'll see a hand with a red arrow over it. To raise your hand to ask a question, simply click on the icon and the red arrow will turn to green, and that will indicate to me that you've got a question. And when we get to that part of the webinar, I will unmute you and introduce you so that you can ask your question. Finally, I want to let you know that we are recording this session and we'll make it available to you later today. So feel free to share this webinar with other colleagues or simply watch it over again if you'd like. So with that, let's go ahead and begin. So when we began working with school districts back in 2005, the technology was still pretty basic. For the most part, districts were scanning, storing, and retrieving files. The primary application then was employee files within the Human Resources Department. Now, around 2010, we started to see school management software begin to offer basic scanning and storing technology. And this actually competed with the standalone document management systems and gave districts the option of scanning independent of their school management system or scanning within it. Around 2015, we really began to see the technology affect process improvement. Things like workflow and e-forms became more popular tools for school districts. Then within the past couple of years, another shift occurred within districts that wanted to expand their system beyond the district campus. So reaching out to parents or vendors as an example. Document management within the school districts was really beginning to have a significant impact on how information was not only stored, but how it's dynamically used. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Scott Francis. So Scott, I'll give it to you.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Jack, if you can cue up our first slide, please. First off, I want to thank everyone for attending today's webcast. As Jack mentioned, it really is about that digital transformation journey. And it's not that paper should be eliminated. Paper is still very useful for gathering information from students, from parents, from vendors, from outside parties. It's the storage and management of paper that is the problem. So if we can address that, then we can certainly have a lot more efficiency and we can gain insights from that information. The ability to use analytics to data mine large pools of information can certainly help schools and school districts as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my slide deck, and I am actually having problems seeing that first slide.
So it's out there, Scott.
Okay, perfect. So, so let's talk about the value of digital transformation for education. First off, it's cost savings, and who doesn't want to save money? Digital transformation solutions can help schools and school districts simply eliminate file storage areas, and that allows schools to repurpose that space for other things, even classrooms or meeting rooms, teacher lounges. It's all possible by eliminating those file storage areas as well as the cost of offsite storage. And increase productivity. These solutions, whether it's being used to retrieve student records, to do advanced workflows, they make employees faster. Employees spend a lot of time just searching for information, and the ability to find that information faster makes employees more productive. It also allows them to make well-informed decisions faster, which will simply have better outcomes. And the quality of education. We certainly know with COVID-19 and the new normal that imposed on all of us, the requirement for hybrid learning, remote learning, but really the effect of how that will affect in-class learning moving forward. The ability for teachers to digitize assignments, put those into advanced learning tools like Kami, where they can add video and audio narration, just provides a higher quality of education. And of course, customer service, just being able to respond to parents, vendors, outside parties faster, easier. It all improves the overall operation of schools and school districts. And by the way, I'm going to talk about the FI800R on the next slide. We do have a limited promotion for everyone who's attending today's webcast. Just ask Jack for more details. Jack, if we can go to the next slide, please. All right, so use cases. Student services is a great area for document scanners. As students are enrolling, they need to have proof of residency documents. That can include IDs and passports. Our FI800R in the middle is especially designed to scan any type of hard card or passports. Registration cards, contact information, health and immunization. We have new requirements there. Again, e-forms are great for a lot of these forms processes, but parents will still want to have that paper option. Your document scanners can ensure that you've got the same workflow, regardless if it's an electronic form or paper form. And the ability to capture things like birth certificates that can't be used with an e-form or can be attached to an e-form. Document scanners are a great solution. The benefits are simple. We can retrieve documents faster. We can prevent information from being lost. We can secure information. It's confidential in many respects. We don't want those things to leak. We can secure that confidential information, and then we can access this information from anywhere. So the event and the situation where you've got people accessing documents remotely, you can do that with these systems. Upland and Priton Group have great solutions so you can have employees working remotely, which is another ability to increase your productivity. And that FI800R, the one in the middle, has two different feed trays. It's got a document feeder for batches of documents, and it also has a front feeder. And that allows you to place it right on your registration counter. It's a more hygienic solution because a student or a parent can walk up and they can self-serve by feeding those documents into the scanner, and it comes right back to them. That means the school administrator never has to handle those documents. It's a great solution for self-service scanning, and it's a faster process as well. Jack, let's go to the next slide, please. And scanners are not just great for student services. They're awesome for the back office as well. So HR, one of the topics of today's webcast, all those onboarding documents, including the I-9, any type of authorization form, all of those can be captured with scanners and put into workflows. Any type of personnel records like reviews, any type of backup document, those can all be captured as well. And then back to those file storage area, all those student records, many times they have to be kept for a long period of time. Eliminate offsite storage, eliminate on-site file storage rooms, and use our larger scanners like the FI7160 and FI7600 to archive all of those documents as well. And back office workflows, everything from invoices and accounts payable to purchasing. You can simply scan those quality documents at the start of the process and then have an electronic workflow. So you can quickly go through those workflows. All the information's available, regardless if the information comes in electronically or if it comes in on paper. You can have one process for all of your information. And of course, we're eliminating those storage requirements. Those workflows just go much faster. And again, the ability to have remote workers is another benefit. So I wanted to thank everyone again, and I'll turn it back over to Jack. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Next up is Mitch McCarthy from Upland FileBound. Mitch?
Thanks, Jack. Yes, I'm a partner account manager with the FileBound team. I work directly with Jack and the Priton group on a daily basis. And today I want to talk with you a little bit about the FileBound tool, but most specifically an integration tool we use called FileBound Connect and what that does. What FileBound Connect does is we call it a walk-along integration, meaning we want to go ahead and integrate with your kind of existing interfaces and systems you're accustomed to using. Today we're going to show you just a kind of simple example of how this integration tool can assist you in working within Skyward, but of course this could be applicable in a number of different systems out there. But the idea again is we just kind of maintain that user experience you're accustomed to and still provide you with a lot of important and crucial data in a quick manner. So in today's case with this scenario, we're just going to be walking through Skyward. So the first thing you may do in a typical Skyward session is conduct a search of your list of students. And you can get a similar view that comes back. But while you're in Skyward, FileBound and FileBound Connect most specifically is kind of following you along, watching you where you're going. So in this case, let's say I went ahead and selected a student. As I do that, what FileBound Connect does is it will read some of the data on the screen above provided, conduct a search against the FileBound site, and then it'll provide you with a notification in the lower right-hand corner, letting you know that, hey, we've automatically found some documents related to the particular student you're actively viewing. And then it can potentially give you the opportunity to look at those. So if I were to go ahead and click on that Connect icon that comes up, what will come up is the FileBound Connect tool. So this can be run either kind of on another screen or up on top of your desktop, or as it was in this scenario, you can just have it buried in your toolbar. You don't necessarily even have to have it open, but it's still going to be monitoring kind of where you're going in some of these other systems and then presenting you with some of this data. So for example, as I clicked on it here, I know the text is awfully small, but I can see right away there's 5 documents currently stored tied to Bobby Abbott. I have an application, some student evaluations, and some other things that I could ultimately have access to from there. Now, if we go to the next slide here, you might be on a student that you've pulled up. In this case, we've changed it to Lynn Acosta. And Connect came back right away and said, hey, we don't have any documents or anything within the FileBound tool related to Lynn. Well, we can provide you with a couple different options. So first of all, you might have noticed there that there's now a create button. So basically the way FileBound Connect works is it's grabbing specific data from the screen and using it to conduct that search. But since we have access to that data, we can also use it to create brand new files. And so with the simple single click of a create button, I can create a file in FileBound for Betty Lynn. And you'll notice I was able to pull her name, date of birth, grade, and student ID all with one click. So there's none of that duplicate data entry that may need to be done. So great, now I've gone ahead and created the file. The next step is maybe I have a document I need to add to Betty Lynn's file. So you might notice kind of up there towards the top of the Connect, there is a scan and import option. So if you did have a physical page and a scanner that you wanted to scan the document in with directly into Connect, you can do that here. You can import it in. I can navigate out to another drive or server that I have it stored, or I can just do a simple drag and drop. I can kind of pull it up in a folder, drag and drop that into my Connect tool, and now I will have automatically uploaded a file into FileBound via the Connect. Now, as a part of that upload, we also give you a little bit of flexibility. I can go ahead and change the document name. So in this case, I was pulling in a transcript, so I can just name that appropriately. So when I go and look at that, I'll know exactly what it is. But in addition to that, we give you some flexibility here to go ahead and also initiate a workflow option. So for example, if this is a document that you may need to pull in to kick off a workflow process for different types of approval, you can do that from that screen as well. So again, basically all from within Skyward, without ever leaving it, I was able to create a file, add a document, and potentially even initiate a workflow process, all from within the same Skyward tool. I never had to log into FileBound or go access anything from any other website or tool. And a couple other things. Now, in today's scenario, we were kind of focused in on student records, obviously, but we're not by any means limited to that. We can work with all screens within Skyward. So if you're looking at it from an HR perspective or an accounts payable perspective, all those screens we can integrate and provide a similar type of user experience where we're presenting the data to them. And then again, we're able to deliver that all from within Skyward. So again, you're not having to go out and create a separate login, conduct a different search. A lot of that user capability is all built into that Connect tool that can be integrated directly with whatever system you may be working in. And then lastly, the one thing we haven't shown is we can also present those documents to you directly from here. So even though I've had this information, I've been able to create it and upload it, I can also access it and make it totally viewable, again, from directly within Skyward without having to go and conduct any additional searches.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate that. So next up will be Kristen Woodard from Oconomowoc Area School District. Kristen? And Kristen, I think you're muted, so just need to unmute your.
Yep, yes, I was. Sorry. I'll start over. Hi, I'm Kristen Woodard. I'm the accounting analyst, accounts payable specialist for Oconomowoc School District. I've been with the district for 10 years, and we've been working with FileBound and the Priton group for just over a year. Our phase one for the business office has primarily been in the document storage area. We use it for our vendor invoices, purchase orders, and payment vouchers. We started here as it seemed to be the easiest storage need that we could automate. Already it's come in handy for invoice lookup for our internal purposes, but also for our preliminary audit that we're starting. We have created a couple of e-forms through FileBound, which are based off of our paper forms of the W-9 and direct deposit information we collect for vendors. We use these forms a lot with our new vendors and sports officials, and it has been a lot easier to store them in here and have them fill out the forms online rather than printing, filling it out, scanning, sending back, or sending it through the mail. Their information is secure, and we have received a lot of compliments on how easy it is to use and that they don't have to print anything out. And then we also have used FileBound to send out our annual parent bus contracts electronically. We normally do this via paper contract and would mail them to all the parents who qualified. And it was so nice this year to not have to stuff over 100 envelopes with these contracts and just be able to send it out via email automatically. We used two different software systems to store these documents and contracts. We used FileBound and then Cygen. In FileBound, we enter new information, search for the documents, edit forms that we have to set up. And then we use Cygen as a software that uses the OCR technology to automatically store the document types that we have set up. And then the parent contracts are also sent and read through this software. Our vendor invoices are captured via Cygen and invoice entry. The invoices entered through Cygen are automatically read through OCR. These are the invoices that we have set up to read this way, so typically the invoices that we receive most often. The invoices where we only get one here and there, or any that wouldn't have any good readable information because it's not set up quite like a regular invoice, then we can enter that information manually and upload our document that we have, and we can do that in FileBound. Our automated Skyward documents that we have, so our purchase orders and payment vouchers, are read through Cygen and are based to automatically read our Skyward specific documents. And then I've already mentioned that we use the e-forms for the W-9 and direct deposit. They can fill in the information and then sign and then submit. I then get an email that it was submitted, and I can view and transfer that information into Skyward. And then the parent contracts we also have set up in FileBound, and then they're sent out and read through SciGen. I just wanted to talk about our parent bus contracts. Our parent bus contracts are when we don't provide transportation to some of the private schools in the area, and so we provide payment to them. In order to receive the payment, they need to sign the parent bus contracts that we create. The Priton group was able to use our process and make some small tweaks so that we could process it more efficiently. So now when I receive that list from the schools and the information is entered into Excel, from there a Word document is made and mail merged with the information from that Excel list. We changed the contract number into a barcode font so that it is still specific to each person's contract, but now it can be readable by SciGen. These are then converted into a PDF, and then the PDF is sent through SciGen to read the email address in our Excel document, and then it's automatically emailed to all of those parents. Then the return parent contracts are run through SciGen and automatically stored with the OCR reading that barcode and that specific information to that contract and saves it under that parent's name so that we can look it up for future use. And then finally, I wanted to talk about how we use FileBound Connect. Connect is a tool that we can use so that we don't have to open FileBound in a separate window. FileBound Connect is used with the AP and HR side. HR uses it with Skyward Employee Profile, and the AP uses it with a Skyward Vendor Profile. Connect can live on top of our screens, and we can easily enter information into the screen to create a document, or we can search for documents either in Connect or in Skyward. When we're on the right screen in Skyward, we just need to bring the vendor up in Skyward, and if there's anything saved for that vendor, it will automatically pull up anything that's saved up there, and we can bring the detail into the Connect screen. And then we can view the document from here too if we need to, or change any information if we need to change something. We can search right in the Connect screen as well, rather than always looking it up through Skyward if we wanted to. And it's just a really nice tool to have at your fingertips, and the Skyward connection makes it so useful, and that way we don't have to log into a couple of different screens. We can just either live in Skyward and then have Connect open right there.
Perfect. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. And finally, we have Connie Hoppy, who's going to share with us how they're using it within the human resources area. Connie?
Hi, thanks. Glad to be here, glad to be presenting with you guys. So my name is Connie Hoppy. I am the Human Resource Specialist at Oconomowoc Area School District, and I have been here for about 6 months. So still learning, but have used FileBound enough that I feel comfortable with it. So the things that we use for the human resources are core projects. Our first one is the personnel files. We use this to store everything for employees, from their paperwork to medical files to their contracts. Everything goes into FileBound. We also use it for onboarding to get new hires paperwork to start working with us, and so they can get paid and have their IT information. Some of the processes we use for new hires, we have a WCAN form. WCAN stands for Wisconsin Education Career Access Network. So everybody who wants to work for a school district within the state of Wisconsin just needs to fill out an application through this website, and they can apply to any district within the state. So they're not going to the different school districts, it's just on one site. With this, we can actually transfer the WCAN application from the site directly into FileBound to start the workflow process. And then once we do the hiring workflow, this is done once they sign their contract and the new employee receives their IT, benefits, business, curriculum information. Employee onboarding, this is when new employees get their paperwork to begin their process of joining our school district. So for FileBound, we use the document storage. We use this to store all of the employees' medical, contracts, discipline, evaluations, transcripts, everything that you need to document where an employee is or what they're doing, all goes in there. We also have e-forms and a workflow. Our E-forms are our W-4, direct deposit, ethnic form, and an I-9 form. This is all done within the first onboarding workflow to get the new employees started. And this is all done securing access to confidential documents, so not anyone can just see what's going on or what they have. It's very secure. And then the SciGen is to capture the processes of external forms. So any form that comes in and needs to be uploaded to the personnel file, we do it through SciGen. Next. So this is just a screenshot of the personnel file and how we actually look for a person. So if you know the person's name or employee code, phone number, address, this is the easiest way to locate them and see where you can find them. Next slide, thank you. This is the We Can form. So once an employee has decided to work with us and sign their contract, I go into We Can website and pull their application. Once the application is pulled, it gets downloaded into FileBound, and this is how the whole process starts. The information on the application is used to create the personnel file and create the access in the data system, into our data system Skyward. All of the details filter into the file details on the left-hand side to create this file for the specific employee with their own employee code. So just the new hiring process. So like I kind of said, the first process is just taking that data out of We Can, making sure we run our background checks, do our due diligence. We offer them their contract, put all that information in, and then we push out the workflow with the initial forms. When we do the new hire, this creates their personnel file. They are sent an email to complete the rest of their paperwork. They are presented the E-forms are presented to the new hire and then is populated with the required forms. Once that is done, or if they haven't actually done it in a timely manner, we do it. If the employee has not completed their file in 3 days or 5 days, they will receive an email notification that they need to go in and fill out the form. So we make sure that they get in there quickly and get it all completed before they start. And then once that is all completed, all the internal departments are notified. So IT, our benefits department, payroll, business, curriculum, and the different schools we have are all notified. And then the personnel file maintenance, this is just general upkeep of the files instead of having physical paper copies. So we're cutting down on our file systems, and it's just all online, no paper required.
Great, thanks, Connie. Appreciate that. We did have a few questions come in, so I'm going to go ahead and share them with the group here. The first couple are for Oconomowoc, and so either Kristen or Connie, you can answer these. The first one is in reference to your employee files. It said, did you convert your existing employee files over to FileBound, or do you have some in paper and some digitally now?
So before we moved to FileBound, we were using another storage system called OnBase, and they just were not meeting any of our needs. And so that's kind of why we wanted to switch to FileBound. And so we converted those documents from OnBase to FileBound. And so we're 100% electronic now.
Great. Here's another one too, and Kristen, this might be directed towards you. Can you explain a little further how you get your vendor invoices into the system? Also, are you receiving both paper and digital invoices, and are you manually keying them into the system?
Sure. So first, for how vendor invoices come into the system, there's two ways that I do that. First is through SciGen. So if I'm going to use put an invoice through SciGen, I first have to set the invoice up with a sample invoice for that particular vendor. I include information from our Skyward vendor listing so that it knows what vendor I'm talking about. And then I tell SciGen where to look on the invoice to identify the vendor, which is usually a name or a phone number. Then SciGen usually automatically reads the invoice sample that I put in there to see where the key elements that we need to capture are. So that would be the invoice number, the invoice date, and amount. I double check to make sure that that's right and they're looking in the right spots for that. And then I save it and they are completely set up. And so then at that point, I can save the invoices just to a folder that we have in our computer system. And then that folder is read by SciGen, and then it goes to the OCR technology process, and it reads it and categorizes the invoice. If I enter in something manually, then that's because our invoices aren't, that particular invoice isn't read to be automatically read. So it doesn't have an invoice number on it. So for example, a student refund of a lunch account, that doesn't have an invoice number. We just have kind of the printout of their account balance. So then that I enter manually because there's not an invoice number or date, and the amount might not be in the same place each time. And then the question about the invoices electronically or paper form. Since we've started working with FileBound, we have worked really hard with our vendors to get as many of them through email and electronically as possible. There's a couple of stragglers that still will send it via mail, even though we've tried to ask, but they're just old school and they want to keep it that way. Or if we get new vendors and we haven't set them up yet. But those are getting fewer and fewer as the school year's gone on.
Thanks, Kristen. I know we're approaching the end here. I got a couple other quick questions. Mitch, this one's for you. Does the integration piece you demonstrated for Skyward require any custom coding or extra modules from Skyward?
No, it does not. It is totally integrated directly within the web page itself, so there's no additional modules necessary, and there's no custom coding. The Connect tool was built to be a very user-friendly. I'm sure after ourselves or the Priton group walked you through the creation or one or two of those integrations, you'd feel comfortable doing that on a variety of other pages. It's set up to be very simple to use.
Thanks, Mitch. And we are past the bottom of the hour, so we will wrap this up. I want to thank everyone who attended. We appreciate you joining us today. We will be getting you a copy of the presentation. And I'd like to thank all of our presenters. Really appreciate you guys joining us. So everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.